Hi, I'm Esme, and I've been a judge for SPFBO for a while now. So my personal life is kind of exploding. I have no time whatsoever for anything, so I had hoped that I could just talk into a phone and have my reviews come out faster. But this is like my seventh or eighth time trying to film this video. I have no editing experience, so I don't know what I'm doing. So I have to do this like basically all in one take because I can't really edit anything. I can't add, book covers or anything like that right now. If this does turn out to be faster, I may put out more video reviews, but for right now this might be the only one. We'll see. So this is for SPFBO Mysterious Ways by Abbie Evans. It was nominated by the Fantasy Inn, so I didn't know much about this going into it other than the fact that it had the enemies to lovers trope in it, which is not my favorite thing. I can like romance. I can even like love romance. But there are certain tropes that just never work for me, and they're really prevalent in romance. And for that reason, for a long time, I had kind of steered clear. But I'm coming around. So I was worried, but it turned out to be fine. So this had sort of a comedic opening. So this thief gets caught in a mousetrap because she was trying to pick up a piece of Gouda cheese. So I'm a Terry Pratchett fan, so you know that the absurdist opening is fine with me. I just rolled with it. So what ended up happening is a priestess was murdered during her like heist, and so she gets pinned with murder. That's a pretty big deal in this world because you're basically always found guilty. Like once you're arrested, you're basically guilty. There's not a whole lot of justice. So the main character here is actually Isabella, at least in my opinion, is probably Isabella. Um, so she is an investigator, and so when Karis gets brought in, it sort of brings about this crisis of faith in basically everything because up until this point, like I said, there's not a whole lot of justice here. And the reason for that is the police or the watch or whoever is in charge of arresting somebody sends them ultimately to the judge. So in this world, religion is a very real thing. Angels and demons walk around with people, and they're very integrated with society. It's not like something hidden. There are angel-only bars, for instance. So it's a very real thing. And the angels are telling you all about the goddess and what's up in heaven and how to appease her. And like there are demons who run around and, represent Satan. So, okay. So when you're found guilty by humanity standards, you're sent to the judge, who is supposed to be this neutral entity in between the goddess and Satan. So up until this point, she hadn't really thought about her ways of justice at all. She just assumed that even if she was wrong, that somebody wasn't guilty, the judge would know that and send the person's soul to the correct place. So when Karis hears this, she's like, "You're an idiot. That's not how things work. I'm going to be sent to hell if you send me to the judge, and I'm not guilty of this. Like, I didn't kill her." So that kind of sets the wheels turning in Isabella's head, and she starts to resist this idea of perfection, that everything they do is fine. And so she starts investigating and kind of figures out that, yeah, no, I think I want to go speak to the goddess about all this. So there are multiple planes. You can technically go to hell if you want to. And that actually ends up being the plan because Satan has a portal into heaven. So they plan to get to hell to go to heaven. Like I said, this is kind of all has a humorous tone to it, but there are more serious topics. Isabella has been sentencing innocent people to hell, and her confrontation of that is a fairly dark concept. So I kind of felt like in places the tone was doing like this roller coaster effect where it was supposed to be funny one minute and very serious the next. And sometimes you can pull that off. I didn't always feel like this tone worked for me because it just seemed to be all over the place. Um, that said, uh, I didn't dislike my time with this. It's still going to be fairly well rated. It just there were certain things that didn't totally work for me. The enemies to lovers didn't totally work for me. I didn't hate it, but per my brand, it wasn't my favorite thing. I did find the religion in the world pretty interesting, albeit a little heavy-handed. So it's basically the reverse of everything we have here. So women are predominantly the leaders. They're thought to be less emotional. Men are thought to be too angry to be leaders. And so there's this whole subplot of Isabella's second in command who wants to be an actual commander. And she's like, no, that's absurd because men can't do that. And by heavy-handed, I mean, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's something like, what if you made men multitask? Wouldn't that overwhelm them? And so, you know, I have seen that shit directed to women in a non-ironic way. You know, you're typically on something like our incels, but it exists. So I've seen it. It's a little abrasive to read about it, but, you know, I understand the point and why it's there. It's just very heavy-handed. It's a very in-your-face approach to it because everything is so blatant. And then, so even the religion is kind of reversed. So, you know, in Christian religion, it's Satan and all the devils who are trying to tempt you into lust. And in this world that's very, very sex positive, the goddess has 7 girlfriends, polyamory is great, and sex is fucking fantastic. So anything pleasurable is and that makes you enjoy life is thought to be a good thing, you know, unless you hurt somebody. So I mean, this sounds reasonable enough. That's a religion I can get behind. I'm not personally religious at all, but that sounds reasonable to me. Enjoy yourself, don't hurt anybody, you know. So you know, eventually they do, I'm going to stop with the plot here, but eventually they do make it into hell. And that is where things kind of take a turn for the more serious. So the tone sort of changes. I enjoyed the last third or last 2/3 way more than the first third. So the first third, I was worried that the characters were going to be caricatures. They were pretty extreme. One of the most extreme examples is this queen that's in the first third of the book, that her dialogue is just so over the top. Her persona is just so extreme that I had a hard time taking it seriously. And she felt kind of 2D because of just how caricature-y she was. So I got kind of worried, but after the first third, I felt like all of the characters kind of came into their own a little bit more. And I got to care about them more, and they felt less 2D. I don't know how to phrase it precisely. The writing style mostly worked for me. There were a few things, mostly in the dialogue, that just didn't catch me. I think at some points there was just too much banter that just didn't gel with my taste, is basically all it was. Hi, Mommy. Hi, baby. How you doing? Okay, that was my son. So the pacing was pretty good. I got through this in just a day. Mostly I enjoyed my time with this. There were just a few things here and there that just didn't work for me. Mostly a personal taste thing. So I'm going to give this a 6.75 out of 10 for SPFBO, which leaves me in a weird place because Kristen is not reviewing this one. So I don't know whether I'm going to round down to 6.5, round up to 7. I'm deciding this on the video. Guess I'll give it a 7 because most of my complaints are personal taste related. So 7 out of 10 for SPFBO. This was my first review. Oh my god, I did it! Yay!